This is JP with Political Pop Culture, and this is my take. This is my take on President Joe Biden, otherwise known as King Joseph I, and his rousing speech at the National Institute of Health, where I'm pretty sure that he fell asleep a couple times mid-speech, but did manage to get out some rather interesting information, including the fact that he expects you, dear citizen, to be wearing a mask for at least the next year. Let's have a quick listen to what King Joseph I has to say.
Our end goal is beating COVID-19, which brings us to the challenge that remains. We remain in the teeth of this pandemic.
Okay, is it my imagination here, or does Joe Biden's breathing remind you of another supervillain who wears a mask?
January of 2021 was the deadliest month we've had. We lost over 100,000 of our fellow citizens. We're on track to cross 500,000 dead Americans this next month.
Okay, so we know that Joe Biden has never been exactly honest when it comes to COVID-19 numbers and stats, but here he's being completely disingenuous. Now, these numbers are directly from the CDC, and I'm going to put a link to this in the description in case you'd like to look for yourself. King Joseph here is claiming that almost 500,000 people have died in a year, and the implication is that these people died from COVID. The problem for King Joseph is that the CDC does not back up Biden's claim. According to the CDC, all deaths involving COVID-19 between January 1, 2020 and February 6, 2021 are 443,000. But listen to the phrasing there. All deaths involving COVID-19. That doesn't mean 443,000 people died from COVID. It means 443,000 people had or potentially had COVID in their system at the time of death. The CDC's own definitions state these deaths are confirmed or presumed COVID-19. In other words, some number of these deaths that are counted here, we don't know exactly how many, weren't even confirmed to have been COVID positive. We do know that roughly half of these deaths involved pneumonia, and 264,992, or 60% of those deaths, were people over the age of 75.
The new strains emerging create immense challenges, and masking is still the easiest thing to do to save lives. But we need everyone to mask up. And by the way, I know it's a pain in the neck, but it's a patriotic responsibility. We're in the middle of a war with this virus. It's a patriotic responsibility.
If masks are so effective and save so many lives, Your Highness, then why is California, which has been mandating masks and locking people down since March of 2020, so much worse off than Florida, where there's no mask mandate and the state's been open for business since July? I'm not saying people shouldn't wear masks if they choose to do so, but don't you dare talk about patriotic duty when you're telling people they have to give up their freedom in your banana republic-style dictatorship.
Not only do you care about your family, you care about your fellow Americans. You realize more people have died in the last 12 months than died in all 4 years in World War II?
And do you realize that that number is untrue? It's completely disingenuous. And for the President of the United States to be throwing that number out there is unconscionable?
All 4 years. That's why I asked what the full extent of my authority as President of the United States could be.
It's a little late to ask that question, don't you think? After you've signed like 1 billion executive orders?
I signed an executive order that required masking on all federal property.
An executive order which you immediately violated by going to the Lincoln Memorial, which is federal land, not wearing a mask.
On modes of travel like planes, trains, and buses across interstate commerce. And I've been calling on governors, Republican and Democrat, mayors, Republican and Democrat, and local officials to institute mask mandates within their jurisdictions.
Because, again, like California, the mandates have worked so well.
We need everyone to do their part for themselves, for their loved ones, and yes, for their country. Mask up, America. Mask up.
And be prepared to mask up for a long, long time. One thing that King Joseph said in his remarks, and I apologize for not having the audio available, was this quote: "You know that wearing this mask through the next year here can save lives, a significant number of lives." In other words, King Joseph doesn't have any plans on easing up pressure to wear masks again for a long, long time. I'll leave you today with the words of George Orwell. Power is not a means, it is an end. One does not establish a dictatorship in order to safeguard a revolution. One makes the revolution in order to establish the dictatorship. The object of persecution is persecution. The object of torture is torture. The object of power is power. That's my take. Let me know your take in the comments, and be sure to join the cult at Pol Pop Cult on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Rumble. Thanks for listening.